Hello everybody, welcome back.
My name is Icarix, and this little prick is Kunagusis. He's been gaslighting me ever since we started this session. I mean, like, he was doing a test.
Ignore him. He is been a pain in the hole. Anyways, so we are just auto-resolved a siege over Tushpa against Armenia, and we have sacked the settlement. We are going again.
I see we're going for round 2, and we decide to
loot it.
Loot.
So basically what that has done is we have plundered a lot of revenue, damaged buildings, and enslaved the captives.
Don't fancy their odds.
Now we are rebuilding it in our image.
We've been having a lot of slave uprisings in the last few sessions. I wouldn't be surprised if another one showed up pretty soon,
I've not
actually.
been great at managing that aspect of things. See, this is the first campaign where I tried to get more aggressive in the slaving aspect to prop up my economy.
So, how does a slave revolt actually happen? I never figured that out.
It's hard to
How does
say.
it trigger?
So there's something called servile unrest. I suppose when that reaches a certain threshold,
Every person has their breaking point, I suppose.
when it reaches a certain threshold, then you get a slave revolt. That's my understanding. It's not completely. I think it's partly tied to public order, but I think it's servile unrest. You know, enough slaves can lead to a revolt in the province. And, yeah. Again, there's a way to avoid that if you're better at managing all this stuff, but I haven't been. Still learning.
Tisk.
You see, ordinarily my approach has been to get, in the early game, slave captives and all that to get my economy going, and then afterwards I stop and I mostly release or kill captives. This time I decided I'd keep going with the slave stuff to get more economic bonuses, and try what I can to balance it out, but I haven't been very successful in the balancing.
You gotta work on that bounce. You gotta work on that bounce, Kungusis.
I know that. That's what I've been trying to do, is work on it. Granted, I haven't been playing Rome 2 very much, so, you know. But yeah, so we are setting an army up to Arsamosata. So we can capture that.
Bring the brothers of Xenophon over to
Arsamosata.
Armosata.
Arsamosata.
And I see they were pretty successful, alright. I see we're building a muster field? No?
No, we're deciding what we're doing. We're building another agora.
What's an agora, actually? I don't think I ever learned
Agora
that
is
one.
like, well, agora is like a gathering place. In this case, it's just a building chain. It produces different buildings like slave markets, cattle, not really cattle ranches, slaughterhouses or amphitheaters, satrap's household, I think it is, or and libraries.
I see we're holding our stance against the
Armenians.
Right? Just outside Arsamosata.
Yes. So we have our Peltas.
I know I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but feck it, I'm never gonna get it right anyway.
We have our Peltas and our Slingers as our ranged corps. Moving our infantry. Thorel swords and Galatian swords. Royal Peltasts. More Galatians. And more Galatians. And our flanks will be our spears, our Thoreo spears. Yeah. So we have our Galatian spears on this side also, with some Thoreo spears.
We're pretty covered now.
Yeah, the enemy is
an angle
trying to charge out of their settlement to attack us.
Very ballsy on their end.
Indeed.
Oh, javelins away. Or
Yeah.
at least they are javelins, right? I'm
Yes,
seeing
they are
them.
javelins.
Yes. Thank God I can see them correctly this time around. I was wondering I was
Yes.
going to go blind for a second.
Indeed. But, yeah. So the battle's gone pretty well. Of course, it's an easy enough battle. Not much to really say. We outnumber the garrison, we outclass them. Simple as.
Clean cut battle.
More or less.
How are the updates coming along, actually? I mean to ask.
I don't know much about DEI updates. Haven't been any in a while. Oh, look here, we have our scythed chariots.
Oh, that should be handy.
Oh yeah, they're fun to use. Probably the first
Oh,
battle.
here come our
was using
elephants.
them.
Here come our elephants now.
Yeah, our Indian elephants.
I was gonna say Indian elephants. I was hoping to guess correctly on my own.
That's a scythed chariots coming in.
The ones that are
this-
supposed to be powerful, but we're not exactly 100% sure on just yet.
Well, they are quite strong. They're just also very fragile.
Hmm.
They have a lot of mass, which means they can move through enemies quite well, which helps add to damage. They just can't stay in a prolonged fight. But in regards to updates, not much in regards to DEI front, at the moment anyways. I'm still waiting on Izuru's mod to update for the Seleukid visuals. He's posted some nice progress, but I still don't know how far he is from releasing it. That's really in the Rome 2 updates front. I've been playing a lot of Warhammer 3 these days, and it's been a lot of fun playing currently with the current state of it and tries to change. Still waiting on any information regarding Thrones of Decay. We were talking about this earlier. No update, not really information at the moment just yet. Probably won't be.
It should be out in about a month or so.
We'll probably start getting the information in like maybe another week or two at most. They'll start probably telling us something about it. But it's been fun seeing the predictions, anyways.
What sort of predictions have there been?
Well, we know there's going to be 3 legendary lords. One for the Nurgle, one for the Empire, and one for the Dwarfs. We're almost certain that the legendary lords for Nurgle and the Empire are Tamarkan and Elspeth von Draken, respectively. Legendary heroes are a little bit up in the air. I think people are saying for Nurgle should be something called Kha'Zix the Befold, something like that. No certainty about who the Empire's one might be. I'm not super versed in Warhammer lore, so I can't comment or say much about these characters. The Dwarfs, it's a bit less certainty as to who the new Lord is going to be. I've seen different names. It's usually between 3 characters. I only know the names of 2 of them for sure. Malachi Mackinson and Joseph Bugman. But I don't know too much about them. I think Mackinson's like an engineer character, but people say he could also be legendary hero material. So we don't know. And then there's going to be a free LC legendary lord, but we don't know who that'll be. Some think it should be Boris Todbringer for the Empire. He's a character already in Warhammer since Warhammer 1, but he hasn't ever been playable. And CA apparently said that he would be playable at some point. So that's the current line of things. And in terms of units and characters, well, for generic lords, heroes, I think for the Empire, for generic lords, it'd be their wizards as lords. We only have them as heroes. I'm not sure about, I can't think engineers as a hero option with the Empire. For Nurgle, we're talking about a Chaos Lord, a melee character for their generic lords, and a Sorcerer Hero for their generic sorcerers or heroes, because we don't have those for Nurgle. We have the other equivalents. We have an Exalted Hero, which is a melee character, and a Sorcerer Lord. And there's a few unit predictions and excellent thoughts. You know, interesting enough stuff, but I can't really comment much on it. Whatever.
But nothing's definitive yet. These are all just theories.
Just as fan speculation. So yeah. But again, we'll have to wait and see.
In the meantime, I've seen that we've decided to raise our Masata.
Yeah, our Samosata.
Arsamasata.
Basically think Samosata, like Lucian of Samosata, put an R before that. R Samosata.
Of course.
That's because you don't know who Lucian of Samosata is. He was a poet. I think we talked about him before.
Have you met me? I'm useless at this sort of stuff.
Well, again, you're more of a filmmaker than myself.
I could probably learn this stuff for historical accuracy if I had to, if I was ever making a period piece. Don't think it'll ever happen, but you know, I could read a book or two.
Probably several.
Yes, you're right. Probably several. Just
I've talked to people who know their shit. But Lucian of Samosata, he was a poet in Roman times. I think probably, or maybe around the early imperial days, maybe just before that. I think he was like he wrote a few satirical pieces. Most notable for me is his A True Story, which I think I've talked about. It's how I learned of Catesius and Canidos in his Indica.
Was he like the originator of like a true story trope or something like that?
Well, no, see, A True Story is a satirical poem. About
it's the name of a poem. Okay.
Yeah, it's called A True Story.
Well, what was the true story about?
A Journey to the Moon.
Really?
Yes. A Journey to the Moon and all the weird and wonderful things that were there, like a group of people where they were all just men, no women, and they I don't remember how they reproduced. They reproduced or gave birth in a very weird way. Stuff like that.
It's kind of like an early version of George Méliès's Journey to the Moon. You know, that short film where like your man travels to the moon and he encounters all sorts of like wondrous things there, and like you have the moon that sort of grinches whenever the rocket hits his eye. Do you know that short film actually?
Nope.
Oh yeah, so there was this filmmaker back in the 1920s called George Méliès. He was French, I believe. And he made this short film, which was completely silent, by the way. But he made a short film about a guy who built a rocket and traveled to the moon. And what happened was, like, when he hit the moon, the rocket hit the moon, and the moon had this face, and sort of made an irritated or hurt look when the rocket hit the moon. And as soon as the guy got out of the rocket, he encountered all these sorts of strange beings and an entire civilization there. So it was basically like a vaudeville show, basically, but just shown as a silent film. And based on what you're describing, like a true story about a guy who travels to the moon, it kind of sounds like the sort of, but not quite, inspiration for Man on the Moon, basically. I don't remember the actual name of it. The name of it escapes me, but it sounds more like it sounds like a subtle inspiration, just dating all the way back to ancient times, I suppose.
Lucian's work was kind of a satirical jab at a lot of ethnographic works.
How was it satirical in a way? Like, what was it satirizing?
Basically, I think it was making, as I said, a jab at ethnographic works, like the fact that he explicitly calls out Catesius for his take on India. As he said something, because he referred to Ctesias, naming him and saying, you know, how he wrote about India. Because he started off by talking about liars and how he himself is openly admits that he's a liar and
really
he's untrustworthy. As he talks about people who've written stories, who've written about fanciful places, like Ctesias
basically admitting
who
that
wrote
he's
about India just by having never set foot there.
So he's basically admitting that he's what's called an unreliable narrator, basically.
Yeah. So the point, I suppose, it was a story mocking, I guess, people like Herodotus or mainly Ctesias, who would write about locations and have quite fanciful tales. And they probably never even set foot in these places. And so it was in part kind of a jab at all that.
So he was like one of the early originators of the unreliable narrator trope, basically.
Maybe. I wouldn't know the full context of these to say whether or not he was. All I know is I read his true story when I was doing my masters, so I was stressed.
What was it like, actually? I'm kind of curious.
It was an amusing story. It's pretty short. I'll send it to you.
And what was the story about his journey to the moon or something?
Yeah, that's basically what it's about, like traveling to the moon.
Oh, okay.
You know, Lucian of Samosata was his name. But yeah. Anyway, so we have a sizable enough battle going on here to comment about what's happening here. We are fighting Armenia, but they're backed up by another army from a different faction. I think they're called Pacinous. They're functionally kind of the Pontic roster. So, yeah. They're just
the newest? Is that how it's pronounced?
I believe that's the faction name, Pacinous. I don't remember for certain.
Pacinous. What were they like, actually?
I don't know so much about them. It's just the main faction here. They are the units of that roster suggest they are based off of Pontus, the Pontic roster. So yeah. The Armenian cataphracts doing a rather failed charge on my Koroas. So there's a royal cataphract with a Basilikoi in their name. So yeah, it's a bit of a messy fight here. This is the angle the enemy are coming from.
I don't know, I mean, like, we seem to have the... Oh, wait, now. Yeah, I can see it now. They seem to be coming at us on a pretty heavy front there.
So yeah, the Roures are charging in those troops. The Georgian swords.
God, they've killed us off pretty badly there.
But yeah, let's see how this goes.
Well, hopefully it goes our way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've lately been reading Goldsworthy's Punic Wars book.
What's that all about?
The Punic Wars.
Oh, okay. Well, I just, like, if there was some specific aspects about the Punic Wars focused on.
Adrian Goldsworthy is a historian. He writes a lot of works aimed at a popular audience.
Never for a niche audience.
Like largely kind of a popular enough audience he'd write them for. He's a good historian and stuff. He's actually friends of my professor when I was doing my masters. He said, "Yeah, Goldsworthy's a friend of mine." But anyways, so it's a book that's about it's a years old book about the 3 Punic Wars. And it's a book I've had for years but never finished reading. So I'm trying to make more of a concerted effort to finish it. Just at the beginning of the Second War, which is the best known of the 3 wars. I'm sure I'd like to think you've heard of Hannibal Barca.
No, I've never heard of Hannibal Barca.
The Barca.
Barca. I've never heard of him. I may have taken history classes, but I never came across that subject.
Okay, but you've ever heard of Carthage and crossing the Alps?
Yes, I've heard of crossing up the Alps at the very least. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily Carthage, but crossing up the Alps, yeah.
With the war elephants and all that?
Yeah, war elephants.
That's Hannibal Barca.
Oh, that's Hannibal Barca.
So the second Punic, this happened in what we call the second Punic
War. Wait,
Hannibal
Barca, is this like Hannibal crossing the Alps?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know. Yeah, I know Hannibal, I just didn't know that his last name was Barca. I always just heard of it as Hannibal. I never actually learned his last name.
Yeah, Hannibal Barca, son of Hamilcar Barca.
Oh, that makes sense now. Okay then.
So he was based in Spain, and when he basically decided to fight against Rome. But what he did was he attacked their ally Saguntum, and he besieged it. And Rome basically went to Carthage to protest and say, and basically goes, here, if you keep up at this, we'll have to fight a war with you. They thought Carthage might back down from that, because they usually did, after losing the first Punic War. But basically Carthage said, no, we'll fight this war. That's the gist of it. And so Hannibal went off. After defeating Saguntum, he marched across the Alps with his army to go into Italy, where he spent at least about a good 15 or so years there, campaigning in Italy against the Romans. Before ultimately having to be forced back into Africa to fight the Battle of Zama, which he lost. We've talked a bit about some of these before. Yeah. So just reading the very early stage of the Second War.
I heard there was this theory, I don't know if it's based in truth or not, but apparently whenever Hannibal had to get rid of boulders blocking him and his army's path, he dissolved them, I believe, with some form of vinegar. His rocks of that nature didn't seem to hold up too well to vinegar or something like that. Is that theory based in any truth?
I have no idea. I haven't heard that before. At least I don't remember hearing that before. So
it was from a Doctor Who episode. It was like one character mentioned, and Hannibal usually dissolved boulders with vinegar or something like that. That got me thinking if that's based on an actual proven fact that he had to do something like that. But I was just interested to know if you knew anything about this actually.
Let me see.
Or if it's just something made up completely for the show. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to have a look now, though I don't know if I'll be able to get in to confirm it. So apparently the claim comes from Livy, at least if I'm gathering quickly. And Livy is writing a long time afterwards.
So there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of grain of truth that can be.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Just that, I'd say this much: when it comes to sources in Hannibal, our best source is Polybius, because he's writing. Well, he's fairly solid enough as a historian, but he's writing closer to the time. Though still before his lifetime, he's writing closer to it. The Second Punic War ended just like a couple of years before he was born. A year or two before he was born. And he spent time in Rome. He basically was like a Roman hostage for much of his life.
Ouch.
So he was very friendly with the Scipiones, the family responsible for the man that beat Hannibal, Scipio Africanus. So I think the thing is, he'd like to be able to talk to a lot of the veterans of the war, the survivors, or their families, when doing his research, as well as other sources that we don't survive now. So Polybius would be our best source because he's pretty solid and he writes closer to the time. But Livy is writing a good time afterwards and is a bit more pro-Hannibal, pro-Rome. Let me see. Let's see. There's at least web.sam.edu. Let's see now. So it seems to be an account from Livy, book 31, 36 to 37, line 36, 37. Okay, Livy and repeated Ammianus Marcellinus. Ancient engineers poured boiling vinegar on the rocks to facilitate their massive cracking, while burning the rocks by fire underneath them, which they were able to remove sufficient rock to pass by. Problem with this as Lancel, Serge Lancel, confirmed, not repeated in Polybius, the more credible source. Removing block. So again, I may have to look into this, but at least
we're leaning more towards a possible no. It's not.
Yeah, at least tentatively I'm gathering, but again, I need to look more into it.
Okay. Well, I mean, like you said yourself, the man who was. What was your man's name again? The guy who was born just before the Punic War, just after the Punic War ended. Polybius, was it?
Polybius, yes.
Polybius. If Polybius is like the most reliable source, then I guess we just have to take his word for it.
Polybius didn't say anything of it. Livy's the one to mention the story.
Oh, Livy, right? Sorry, I got the names mixed up.
Yeah, Livy is the one who basically told the story, it seems.
Okay. He was more pro Hannibal.
No,
so
more pro Rome, but he was also living a long time afterwards.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Livy died. So apparently he was born around 59 BCE and died around 1780 CE. So he's what? About a century. He's writing on something that happened about a century and a half before he was born. Roughly. That's before he was born. So you're looking at maybe almost 2 centuries. Very roughly. From what he's talking about. Polybius is writing closer to the time, and we see that Polybius doesn't mention it.
Okay, so we're gonna have to lean more towards the theory that it probably wasn't true or something.
I guess, but there's more to it than that, and all sorts of factors. But again, I need to look more into it.
Okay then.
But yeah.
In the meantime, it seems we appear to be at a bit of a standoff here.
We have some of the enemy troops surrounded with our pikes. We're moving our silver shields towards them.
Slowly but surely.
And then it looks like they're starting to break.
Oh, that's not good. They're driving us off. I can see that much.
Right.
The Greek militia is standing firm, holding their ground.
They're probably not going to do much good against our pikes. But yeah. Royal Peltas there. They kind of become obsolete by our thorax reforms.
Really?
Yeah. Because you'd have better melee troops than them.
The Peltas, I assume, were still pretty useful, weren't they?
Well, the Royal Peltas can still be kind of handy, but they're like, with their couple of javelins, but not majorly. The Royal swords have like, you know, more numbers, cheaper population, and several javelins for skirmishing, so For heavier melee troops, you have your silver shield swordsmen. And the Galatian swords, thorax swords. So, royal peltas aren't all that needed by the thorax reforms. Because we're not at that stage yet at this. Well, as of what's shown here, we are not at that stage yet, but where I've left off recording the gameplay, already at that stage. But yeah. Swords are pretty exhausted.
Yeah, sure, they've been going at it for a while now, I'm not surprised.
Oh yeah. I believe that means they fight at about half of their base stats.
Oh, so they're not even at like 100% endurance.
I think basically when a unit is exhausted, I believe they are effectively functioning on half of their stats. Their stats are basically halved. Even the UI doesn't show it. So
they appear to have a better.
Is say 10. They're exhausted to be operating on like 5 melee attack.
I mean, like, we do appear to be a little bit more spread out than usual. So, oh, here come the here come them.
The Tyroi.
The Tyroi, yes. I mean, like, we do seem to be a little bit more spread out than usual, so hopefully that's a sign of good things. At least we've got more ground to cover.
Well, yeah, I think we are winning at this stage. Yeah.
I think the enemy, it looks as though they seem to be,
Georgian swords.
They seem to be rounding.
Yeah. Pontic Thoreo swords. And Greek citizens.
Just standing back, watching all the carnage, safe on their high horses.
Makara Poroi.
They're just standing back there and like, yeah, we know we're pretty much fucked if we go up there. We're just gonna sit back and honor our brothers and sisters by just watching back, you know, laying back and just taking in all the carnage in their memory.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done now. So let's just feck off out of here. We don't need to see any more of this. We know we're fucked. Oh, they're fucked.
Yeah, nice old charge. Tyroi.
Oh, the Greek citizens are joining up with their other Greek citizens. At least I believe that's 2 Greek citizens making up. Oh, here come the Greek archers. Oh, it's not like they can do much of anything. No. Oh, Greek citizens are getting decimated by the second.
Yep.
Proper skirmish there.
He pays also.
What are he pays actually? I don't think I ever learned what he pays are.
He pays horsemen.
Oh, he pays horsemen.
The Greek for horse was hippos.
Ah, okay then.
So, the hippopotamus is a river horse. Also, a Philip means a lover of horses.
Oh, sweet.
Phil Hippos. Yeah.
Oh, here come our Thorero Poroi.
Tureo Poroi.
Thoreo Poroi.
Tureo Poroi.
Thought I pronounced it right, but okay.
Tureo Poroi.
Thoreo Poroi.
Not Poiroi. Poroi.
Poroi.
There.
Thorero Por.
Tureo.
Thorero Poroi.
Not Turero. Tureo.
Thoreo.
Poroi.
Thoreo. God. Thoreo Poroi.
Poroi.
I give up. I'm not gonna be able to pronounce it right.
It's just Tureo Poroi.
Thoreo Poroi.
Not Poiroi. Not
Poi.
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 Pa.
Pa.
Roy.
Pa. Roy. Thoreo Poroi.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Thoreo
sound phonetically
Poroi.
correct to me, but okay.
Tureo Poroi.
Thoreo Poroi.
Tureo sparrows, basically.
Okay. Whatever. I give up.
Yes, I have to rebeat this into you. Don't I?
Yes, you pretty much do. It doesn't sound, like I said, it doesn't sound phonetically correct to say it that way, but whatever. You're the accuracy guy, not me.
Tureo Poroi. Tureo Poroi. Yeah, how you'd say it. Mr. Poroi Garatai Kuroas.
It looks as though the enemy is routing for the most part.
We use second wind in our troops, so they're absolutely exhausted.
Pretty impressive on their part, with only half their stats.
Second wind is an ability where you temporarily boost their fatigue to like fresh, but when it finishes, they plummet to exhausted.
And what happens when they're exhausted?
They fight at less efficiency. You know, I talked about how when a unit is exhausted, they're functioning at like half stats.
Oh, I thought exhausted was like when all of their stats are depleted. Actually,
No, when they're exhausted, that means they're like I think half stats or thereabouts.
oh, okay then. I got it mixed up there.
Yeah. So, second wind boosts them back up to fresh, but only for a period of time. And afterwards, they go back down. They just go down to exhausted.
That was pretty successful on our part. I believe we are nearing the end of our session, actually.
We are indeed. We in fact are at the end. So, hope you enjoyed this part.
As always, be sure to leave a comment, like and subscribe. And of course, we'll see you all soon.
Thanks for watching.